Welcome to everyone to Sauce Time Gaming. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video once again. And today we're going to be looking at the 6 weapons that I currently remember have a zero recoil characteristic to them, either in the totality of its pattern or in some part of it, as well as the builds that have been tried, tested, and true by yours truly for effectiveness in combat. Now, I do want to state that burst weapons won't be part of these weapons, as although the Ultra Burst has zero recoil, I don't see it fair to include burst weapons, as if you actually use some of the burst features on these weapons, because of its slow fire rate on, again, some of these, like for example the KGM40, you're actually going to get a zero recoil spread on it, so it's not really a fair play. But with that said, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into them. Now, I do want to state these aren't in any particular order of better or worst, so keep that in mind as we talk about this first weapon here. But we're going to start with the Cooper Carbine, which might be surprising for some people, as the commonly known build for this weapon utilizes the 22-inch Cooper custom barrel because of its increased fire rate, of course, instead of the 18-inch Ragdoll G45 that actually decreases the fire rate by pretty much double the amount that the 22-inch Cooper Custom increases it. So, of course, it's not the most enticing option for the community, I would say, or the most enticing option anyone would recommend up front. However, the fire rate increase you get from the 22-inch actually comes with a recoil increase as well. And although the recoil pattern isn't hard to control by any means, if you do actually happen to give the Ragdoll barrel a chance, you'll actually see that tying together the reduced fire rate and then adding compressed rounds to increase it a little bit will bring the fire rate of the Cooper Carbine to around 720 rounds per minute, which actually makes it a pretty solid competitive option for long range, as well as it gives you the benefit of a 1-bullet kick up to zero recoil pattern, as you can see here. And if you do run the bipod and you happen to prone, then you'll be enjoying literally a zero recoil pattern all the way through. And if we talk about the build we are running for the Cooper Carbine, we're going to be looking at the MX silencer with the 18-inch Ragdoll G45 barrel, as I said, whatever sight you prefer, the Cooper 45W stock, hard scope fully loaded, grooved grip, the 9mm 60-round drums, compressed rounds, and the underbarrel. You can really run the Carver foregrip or the bipod or the M1941 handstop. Actually, you could run anything in this category and you're still going to get pretty much the initial maybe 1 or 2 bullets depending on the attachment that kick up, and then the weapon is going to stall and it's going to pretty much stay in the same position as you're shooting. So you're definitely going to get the zero recoil setup with whichever one of these. I just prefer the bipod because if I do happen to prone, I'm enjoying a zero recoil spread at that point. So there we have the zero recoil Cooper Carbine build. The next weapon we will cover is the Type 100 SMG, becoming most recently a more popular SMG and a favorite for me as of the discovery of this specific build that gives you a recoil pattern similar to that of the Cold War MP5, where it kicks up in a rather straight line and then it stalls after about 22 bullets. Despite its side-to-side visual wobble that you get when you use it, if you actually use the weapon for a while, you should be able to get used to that. And with the right sight, based on your personal preference, you should be able to clear up your visibility there. And in regards to this build, the mobility feels fantastic. To be the Type 100, if you've ever used this weapon before, it's a rather slow option for the SMG category. But when we talk about the Type 100, we're running the recoil booster, the Shiraishi precision barrel, whatever sight you prefer, the Warubachi skeletal stock, acrobatic, and quick, because again this SMG needs as many speed boosts as possible, the fabric grip to increase the aim down sight sprint to fire speed and the hip fire accuracy, the 8mm Kurz 48 round drum. You could run the 36, but you might not enjoy as much of that zero recoil spread with the 36 rounds. And then lengthened here just to increase the bullet registry at a bit of a longer range, and the M1941 hand stop to get some extra control for that wobble. And that would be the zero recoil for the Type 100. Now let's move back to the assault rifle category and talk about the STG-44. And for this weapon, its zero recoil comes earlier in its recoil pattern rather than later in some of the other cases we've talked about, by giving you a 7-bullet zero recoil pattern before following its up and to the right pattern that it normally has with all other barrels. And this change actually happened when the Krosnick 620mm precision barrel change happened on on the introduction of Season 2, where they sort of nerfed the barrel from an 80% initial recoil control down to 40%, but it seems the initial recoil control is still pretty effective, and it leads to this initial zero recoil build, which is pretty much comprised of the Krosnick 620mm precision barrel. The the M38 is personal preference, so you can choose whatever sight you want there. The Constans Tactical, acrobatic for some extra mobility. For the STG, it really feels great. Fully loaded, the hatched grip, lengthened, and then you can really run anything else on any other department here. For the muzzle, I like to combine suppressors and recoil booster based on the type of magazine I'm running. So a recoil booster if I'm going for the Russian short 45 round, which decreases your fire rate. And if I'm running maybe the base 60 round, I would also run the fire rate increasing attachment for that. But if I'm running the 50 round, which gives you pretty much maximum control after that 7 initial 0 recoil spread, I'll just run a suppressor with it. Maybe if I want to get a really fast fire rate, I'll keep the recoil booster, but you can mix and match these together and you should get pretty interesting results. And for the underbarrel, you can really run anything you want. It's pretty much the follow-up after the 0 recoil kick is what you kind of want to always keep in check. So I tend to run the M1941 hand stop, and then again, whatever sight you prefer. But this that you have right here is the 0 initial recoil STG 44. Next is going to be the Cold War MP5. Now this might be the most well-known 0 recoil having weapon, as its pattern has actually never been changed. Only I think once its vertical kick was increased in sort of the aggressiveness that it kicks upward, but its final 30 bullet 0 recoil pattern has pretty much always remained for this weapon, and it's made it rather tricky to use for some people. But the build for the Cold War MP5 is pretty much the agency suppressor. We're not running a barrel here, so we can keep the clean iron sights that you get from the blueprint, from specific blueprints. We're running the bruiser grip here for more mobility. The Stanek 50 round drum, I just find it's the best to have more ammunition with this weapon, but the mounted flashlight for some increased mobility, and the collapsed stock. So this is pretty much the Cold War MP5 build that kicks up and stalls for a 0 recoil pattern. Now, for our final assault rifle, we have the BAR, or the BAR. Now, people might be discovering how good this weapon can be because there are a couple of floor loot bars that are built with a faster fire rate setup, and the reality is that it kicks up in a pretty much straight line, so that already might make it more known. But what people must not forget is that the BAR's fire rate is 400 rounds per minute at its base. And that fact can be slightly increased and used to advantageously build a 0 recoil setup that I would have to say might be the more challenging of the rifles we have spoken of today, due to that slow fire rate making the bullet registry, and sort of it doesn't really reward much if you miss a shot. But when you do land those, trust me, it feels like you've destroyed that player. But again, it might be a bigger of a skill gap to be able to use this build. However, the build runs the following way. We're running the recoil booster here because we want to get a little more out of that fire rate that's already low. We're running the CGC 30-inch XL barrel, the .50 BMG 40 round mag. Again, this is the ammunition type that hits like a truck. I'm running subsonic here. You can really run anything you're interested in because this is a very flexible build in this scenario, because you're already getting a lot of damage and range out of this weapon. But I'm running subsonic just to not appear on the minimap as much, although this thing sounds like a sniper on full auto mode. But you can run the polymer grip, the hard scope fully loaded, the Chariot WR stock, whatever sight you want. And for the underbarrel, the great thing here is to get this 0 recoil build, you can really run any of these attachments, and pretty much this base build you're seeing right here is going to give you a 0 recoil spread. So you can run something for mobility, and something to aim down sight quicker, something to get more hip fire accuracy, whatever you want. It's really up to you. I tend to run the M3 ready grip just to get a little bit more mobility, and there is the 0 recoil bar build. For our final weapon today, we will be talking about the PP19 Bizon. You gotta love to see a Modern Warfare weapon on one of these, especially what I would personally consider the most underrated sub in the game. And on top of a great mobility profile with the build I'll share, it also shows a 0 recoil pattern by default, although it does take about 40 of your 64 bullets in the base mag to reach that 0 recoil point. It is nonetheless deserving of a spot today, and its build consists of the monolithic suppressor, the 8.7-inch polygonal barrel, the tack laser, nose stock, and stippled grip tape. This is a fantastic mobility submachine gun, and you can also change the barrel to maybe the 8.7-inch steel if you need a little more control. But to be honest, once you get used to it, and if you have the specific blueprint that gives you the cleaner iron sights, then you'll be able to enjoy a fantastic sub with great mobility that I think you'll be surprised of how well you're moving with it, and how fast you're killing and getting some headshots with it. There's something that really pulls this weapon into some successful headshots. So there you have the Zero Recoil PP19 Bizon. And there you have it, the 6 Zero Recoil weapons across all titles actually, which is nice to see. Now, please do let me know if you either try any of these builds out and enjoy them, or if there was a Zero Recoil weapon still in existence that I might have missed, and let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to maybe create a future video on any weapon I might have missed today. If you did enjoy today's video, I would truly appreciate if you hit that like button down below and recommend this video to anyone else interested in this type of content, as well as check out my TikTok where I post a lot of different clutch gameplays and funny moments, and my Twitter where I am mainly active in regards to my social media. But with nothing else left to say, I thank you so much if you did reach this point of the video, and thank you for enjoying it if you did. But I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and until the next one, I hope you always remember, Sauce Time Gaming.